We're live.
Why does it say
So
test in
I
the
was
chat?
I was testing. That's a new feature. I can type in the chat. I used to not be able to
Oh,
comment in the chat, but the only people that can see the chat that I'm
right,
typing is Rumble
right.
people. Like it don't show up if you're watching on YouTube. It doesn't
Really?
show up if you're watching on locals.
Does the chat show up at all in YouTube?
Yeah, it does,
Huh.
but only
Okay.
the YouTube side of it. So if somebody comments from X, then YouTube doesn't record that comment as part of the chat.
Oh, but that's kind of I kind of get why.
Okay,
Kind of
I do
sucks, but
too, but they're working
it
on it.
sucks.
Rumble's
Yeah.
making slow improvements.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway.
Oh, it's so good. I got electrolytes and water.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'll take water, thank you.
no carbs or sugar.
No, I know that. It's just bleh.
I
It
know,
just tastes terrible.
but I need it because if not, I just drink too much water.
Mm.
I'm always dehydrated.
Mm-hmm.
So before we start talking about education, you put up a post. The last post. What
An
was it?
hour ago.
What was it?
All right,
Well,
I'll read it.
I just saw it.
If you want to understand the difference between men and women, then look at the differences between how Caitlin Clark has been treated compared to Michael Jordan.
Okay. First of all, I'm more blown away by that post because I didn't think, "Hey, guys, how's everybody?" I didn't think you knew who Caitlin Clark was.
Oh yeah, you hear about it on social media, definitely.
Yeah, you can't
You
get
hear
away
about her all
from
the
news,
time.
certain news.
And you can't get away from certain things. You just can't get away from it. If you watch any YouTube shorts or any TikTok or this, it's out there because people are talking about her. And
It's
I'm like the last person on the planet who would watch sports.
uh,
So,
yeah, that's what blew me away too. I'm like, "Wow, he's talking basketball." Okay,
but it isn't basketball. I'm not talking about basketball. I'm talking about
women
overachievers.
treating
You give a
women.
bunch of men, and there's one guy who's like when you were a kid, and there was all these boys around, and you're all playing football. Everyone knew who the good players were,
Right,
right? And we
right,
deferred to them. We're like, oh, okay, we want to get the ball to Joey over here, right? Because he kicks ass, and we want to win, right?
right, right.
Women, no. It's like, okay, we're not going to give it to Susie because that bitch always hogs the ball. Everybody gets a
Uh,
chance, and no, so don't pass it to
and
Susie.
she
Okay,
got a shoe
everybody,
deal.
right? And I'm telling you, it's just the difference between how men treat high achieving men and how women treat high achieving women.
But was Michael Jordan around when the internet was around? I don't.
No. Just how was he treated when he first went into the sport compared to
Oh,
how she's been treated?
he was treated fine, but listen,
Right.
you're talking the world's angrier, hate is bigger, the internet.
No. I'm not talking about that. That's how you're interpreting it. What I'm saying is that men and women are distinctly different about
Right.
how we accept people who are better than us.
Yeah,
A guy
women
can
are
kick your
brutal,
ass.
dude.
He gets all of the respect, right? That
Right,
dude's strong. He's or someone who in a school scenario, really
right.
smart. They get all the respect from guys. Guys are like, oh no, this guy knows his shit. And every guy aspires for that, right? And guys know that to get anything, you have to work. Not the case with women. Women want everything handed to them on a silver platter. And if a woman has something that they don't, they're jealous. And that's everything that's going on right now with Caitlyn.
So women are more brutal.
In that regard, yes. In that regard, absolutely.
They are. I
Men are
mean,
more brutal, physically brutal and violent and that kind of thing.
it's
But
weird. That's weird that you bring that up because it's like I could get my butt kicked by a dude, right? I get pummeled all day long.
yeah,
Then at
Yep.
the end of the day, we're best friends, you know?
Yeah.
We're hanging out, we're playing handball. We're
Yeah,
like,
no, right.
okay, it's
Totally.
done.
Totally.
Women
Yeah,
forget it,
it's
they
in the
take it to their
past.
grave.
Yep. No, women take it to the grave. Mom would take everything. Remember, I'd always tell her, Mom, what are you gonna do? Take that to the grave? Like,
Oh my,
that was years ago. She's like, Yep, yep.
do
I'm
you
like,
remember when she
whatever.
busted up the cement?
Oh yeah. I
Remember
remember
Jan
shit.
wrote her name in the cement,
Yep.
and
When
Jan
they
was
got
not mom's
when
friend
it fell
anymore.
out of, yeah, when she wasn't Mom's friend, she went over the cement, she took a hammer to it. And we're like,
Uh,
that's a bit much.
yeah, I
A
know.
bit
I
much.
would have cemented over it. I would have busted up the
Yeah.
cement.
Something.
Oh my god,
So we always
mom!
had that section of cement was all broken. She didn't ever even had it. She never asked for it to get fixed. It was just this big piece of missing
This is
cement.
yeah. This broken part is bitchy mom.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I just think that, you can really see the jealousy. It's so obvious in the
NBA.
what is it? NBA. Thank you.
WNBA.
It just
Yeah.
it just popped out of my head. Anyway, so that kind of behavior it's baffling and interesting to me because I don't have that feeling. When I see someone who's really great at something, I
I
I
kind of
look
respect
and
them.
aspire for that greatness, right?
Right.
I respect it and I aspire to be that good at something.
So,
And I
but
think
women are
that
like that
that
with everything, not just sports, right?
no, it's everything. No, it's a male and female difference. And it
Wow.
may be it's some part of socialization. It could be that, right? Women are always competing on on a different level than men. So women have to compete with what they were born with, and men have to work to acquire so that they can compete.
Right.
Okay. Now, in the beginning, boys are competing on what they were born with, right? The bigger boys pick on the smaller ones, and you're competing at that level. But
Right.
as you get older, when you acquire resources as a man, you're competing at a level of what you've accomplished. Whereas a woman is competing with who she is and her beauty. That's it. That's all she's got. And yeah, she can go out and get a job and be a boss bitch and all that. And guys don't care about that. We don't value that. So there's no value for that in the sexual marketplace. But women are always competing with what they're born with, which is like the lottery. Like whatever you get, which sucks, honestly. I think that sucks, but it just is what it is.
Yeah. Once again, another day that I thank God for being a guy.
Yeah.
Women have it way worse
Well, I
growing
think men
up
have it. Men have
in
it.
life.
Men have each side has their downsides, right? Men have it worse when it comes to dying in wars and things like that. Nobody cares if a man is hurt. Society doesn't give a shit about men. And then on the other side, women have it difficult. Look, everybody has it hard. No one has it easy. Even rich people. Take the
Right.
richest person. In fact, being rich is a curse. We should talk about that another time. We should probably get on subject.
Oh yeah, we should talk about what we're going to talk about. Um,
Yep.
okay, so I read an article. I think what brought this up again for our list
Hmm.
was I read an article that talked about somebody was asking, "Is college even worth it? Is college like kind of outdone its usefulness? Is college a waste of money? Can you just get into the field by experience? Most fields, of course, certain college educations you have to have, but most you can go to a trade school, you can save all that money. Okay, they're
Right.
asking, has it outrun its usefulness?
Right. That's a good question. I don't think college is useless. Is it worth the money is a different thing, right? So you
Right.
can gain a lot from college. So that's one truth. Another thing that's true is it's very expensive. So so now you have to say, am I getting the value for my money? right? That's the real question that you have to ask yourself. Is school worth the cost? And I would say no, without a doubt, it is not worth the money. It is not worth half of the money that you pay.
Right.
Okay. Because you can learn if your goal, so it depends on what your goal is, right? So, what's the goal of going to college, let's say? Okay. The goal is to get a degree. No, that's not the goal. The goal is to get a job, right?
Right.
So, you may need a degree to get the job, and that's why you're going to school. But your long-term goal is to get a job, or maybe to break into a career.
Right.
That's another thing, right? So it really depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to learn, then college isn't the only game in town, right?
Right.
If you just want to know something, just go on YouTube, just do the work yourself. If you know you won't do the work and you need to go to a class, then maybe an online class would work for you. But if you have to be in a room with a bunch of people just because it motivates you more, you know, it's easier for you to learn that or to stay up with it, then yeah, go to a class. But do you have to spend a bunch of money? Could you go to a community college instead and learn? I mean, I went to a community college and I took calculus and linear algebra and physics and chemistry, and I learned all those subjects. You know, I could have gone to a 4-year college and taken all the exact same subjects, and I would have learned exactly the same thing, but it would have cost me a lot more.
Right.
So this is, you know, obviously pre-internet. So the question really is, what's the goal of school? So let me go back now. Let's go look at that. Why do you send your kid to school?
Well, honestly, it was almost nobody knew better. They just knew that the kid had to go to school. That
Right.
was that he had to go to school, he had to go to college, he had to get a good job. It was the 50s and 60s mentality, you
Right.
know?
But why do you, what's the ultimate goal of school? What's the
Well,
ultimate goal?
there's different ultimate goals. Elementary school is just reading, writing, arithmetic, excuse me, learning the basics so that you
Right.
can survive in the world. That was the ultimate goal. Learn how to read,
Yes.
don't be
Yes.
illiterate,
Yes.
be able to add
Yeah.
two numbers, you know, um, how to write, how to sign your name, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But then as you get older, high school was to finish your education so you can go to college. You had to have an high school diploma. Colleges wouldn't take
Yeah.
you without a high school diploma.
No, of course. But that school isn't the goal of school, right? In that case, you're saying school is the goal of school. You're going to school so that you can go to another school. That is not the goal of school. That's not why you send your kids to school. You send your kids to school. Ultimately, you send your kids to school to solve problems. Okay?
Okay.
So I know that sounds abstract, but let me explain. The way that you just look at life, right? In general, how do you function as an adult? The only way you're going to function as an adult is if you can solve problems, right? You're like, oh, you need to acquire something. You need to acquire food. That's a problem. How do you go about acquiring food, right? You need to acquire shelter. How do you go about that? So you have to look at the different problems of living your everyday life and try to figure out what problems that you're going to encounter. And you want your children, when you send them to school, to be able to solve those problems so they can have a better life, right?
Right.
Okay. So if the ultimate goal, and if so, here, let me explain what I consider a problem. A problem
Wait,
is
before you get into that, I just want to tell
yeah,
people Jimmy is another F as in Frank. He'll be coming up later another time. This is my brother Charles, and we're discussing kind of about education and how to fix it because we know it's totally wrong right now, totally been destroyed. Go ahead.
okay. So the reason you send your kids to school is you want them to have a better life, and you want them to be able to solve any problems they encounter in their adult life, right? That's the goal. So let me explain what the difference between what a problem is. And any problem, all problems boil down to this one fact or this one definition. It's the difference between the actual, right, and the desired line. This is the way things are right now, current state of your world. And this is the state of the world you would like it to be.
Lower that hand a
You're
little
hungry.
bit. Our world is a little lower than that.
Whatever. Your world, so you're hungry and you'd like to not be hungry or be full, okay? Your shoe is untied and you'd like your shoe to be tied. Anything, any problem, anything. The door is closed, you'd like the door to be open, right? When you're born, you don't know how to open a door, right? You remember your kid trying to open the door for the first time? All of these things are education, right? They're not formal education,
Right.
but they're an education. And you are educating your kid when you tell them, no, don't touch the stove, it's hot, right? You're educating your kid to not get burned, right?
Yep.
So
one way or another, he'll stop.
Right. So the thing is that if you look at a problem, so you have if that's the definition of a problem, the actual compared to the desired, then there's only two things you can do to solve a problem, right? You can move this line, the actual, you can solve it,
right?
And now the actual and desired are the same. Or you can settle and say, yeah, that problem's not that important to me. I'm just going to accept. And now I'm going to desire the actual, right?
Got it.
I don't care enough to do the work. Yeah, it would be nice, but it's not important enough to me, right? And then you move this line. So this is a solution, right? And this is acceptance, accepting the world the way it is, okay? And then there's one more. Let me finish. There's one more. There's compromise. Compromise, where
somewhere in the middle.
You lower your expectations and then you solve to that point.
Right.
You move both lines at the same time. That's all you can do, right? That is problem solving in a nutshell. And that's what you want to teach your kids in different areas of life. And that's what I would say, that's what school's job is. School's job is to do that. You as a parent, that's your job as well. But that's what school should be. Whether it is or isn't is a completely different thing. But that's why you send your kid to school. Otherwise, why would you bother even sending them? All right, go ahead.
Okay, so my one problem with pick any 0 through 12, I don't care what grade, okay?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, all I ever did was memorize. I never learned why. That always pissed me off. So what I'm saying is 5 times 3, 15. I have it memorized, okay? I never learned why is 5, how to change your oil, why is the oil there, what, on your car, whatever it is you're trying to do, it's always memorization, and it's never think about why you're doing what you're doing. Why do you think
so? Let me tell you why. Okay, in the years before Google, right, knowledge had value. Okay, there's value in knowledge. So what I mean by that is that if you say, hey, how many quarts of oil go in my car, right? Knowing why the oil's there doesn't help me, right? But I can look that up. I can look it up in a book, or I have to look it up in a book, or I can just Google it. I just go Google the thing. So let's just say I go and I Google it now, right? Or I just grab my phone and I go, how many quarts of oil go in, and whatever your car is. So now you have access to knowledge at a moment's notice. The value of knowledge has gone down over the decades.
Do you know the answer?
In my car, for my car?
Yeah.
No, like 4. I think it's 4 typically. I don't know, 4 or 5. I can't remember. First of all, when I worked on cars, I was like 17. I was a kid. So however many quarts we put in then could be vastly different from what we're doing today.
Right.
So I have no idea. Because I don't change my oil.
So my question to you, I guess, is your family member, you send her away to school. Today, would you do the same thing? Would you have your child would you encourage a child to go away to a university today?
No,
No.
no.
What would you suggest?
Well, it depends. Okay, I guess I would say it depends. You want to become a doctor, a lawyer, things like that, then absolutely you have to, because you can't get into those industries without a degree, without going to medical school and going to law school. Schools that are tailored specifically for a particular career. Okay, so if you want one of those, a trade school, I would
Right.
I would send my kid to a trade school. If they want to become a welder, then go to a trade school, learn to weld, go to a welding school. You want to be a plumber or electrician, go to those schools. Going to a generalized university now is a waste of money. It's a waste of time. If you care about the degree, it's not a waste of time. If all you care about is that getting that paper for whatever
Right.
reasons, whatever your reasons are, then no, that's the only place you can get that piece of paper. So by all means, go there. I question your goals if that's all you care about. If you just care about getting the paper, then I think that's a mistake. But
Well, some people think you can make more money by getting the paper. You can ask for a higher salary.
yeah, I'd be like, well, don't you want more out of life than just going, look, I have a degree, therefore pay me more? I mean, like, don't you want to be skilled? Don't you want to have like, so here's the thing. When Rachel went to school, she took double major in philosophy and psychology. Okay.
Right.
And she wanted a minor in technology. So she was suffering with a programming class. And I looked at the work and I'm like, oh my God, who wrote this code? And it was the teacher. And I'm like, and he was the next teacher and the next teacher and next teacher. I'm like, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help you get through this class. You're not going to, so it doesn't blow your GPA. And when every summer you come home, I'm going to teach you how to program. Okay, I'll do that. And she did that for every summer for those 3 months. She learned programming. Okay.
So you're saying you taught your daughter?
Yeah, 100%. She was self-taught. Well, self-taught. I mean, I gave her stuff, explained things to her, and then she wrote code. And let's be honest. In any learning endeavor, the teacher is worth 10%. And the student's worth 90%. I can't teach you and you just know something without your participation.
Right.
I can only affect you about 10%. And teachers like to think, oh no, it's more than that, blah, blah, blah. They're full of shit. It's just their ego talking. It's not true. Like, I'm telling you, I wasn't a very good teacher when I was teaching her. I'm a much better teacher now, but back then she made me a better teacher.
What is
when
she
I was
doing
teaching
today?
her, when
What's
I
she
was
doing
teaching
today,
her,
all grown
she
up?
programs. But when I was teaching her, okay, I wasn't prepared for teaching. I only knew what I knew. I only knew what I had been taught, right, by other teachers. So it was very frustrating because I realized that I wasn't doing the level of quality that I wanted, and I had to get better at it. So in the process of teaching her, I became a better teacher. So for her to learn anything, it was mostly her. And even now, I consider myself a much better teacher. I still think 90% of it is on the student. The students, you can completely screw a student up being a bad teacher, and you can completely leave them with no hope of learning because you're terrible. But it's still, most of learning is self-taught, right? I could say I'm a self-taught most of the things in my life are self-taught. Almost everything in my life is self-taught. 90% of the work is on me, my responsibility. So going back, I want to go back before you derailed me on the knowledge and understanding thing that you said earlier. Okay.
Right.
So when you go to school is all about knowledge. It's been that way for 50, 100 years or more, right? And why? Because knowledge used to be valuable. And over your lifetime and mine, right, over our lifetime, we've seen knowledge become devalued. Because why? Well, you have access to more information than ever before.
Fingertips.
Right. Whereas before, smart people had a lot of trivial facts in their head, right? When I was going through school, I'm not a big facts person. right? I don't care about facts. I care about understanding things. I only cared about that. I didn't want to memorize the formula, but I wanted to know how to derive the formula.
Right.
If I could derive it, I don't have to remember it, right? I can just go, oh, I know how it works. It works like
Everything
this,
I
and I
did
can
was
figure it out.
memory. All of it was memory. Remember this date.
Everything in school is memory still, even to this day. It's all memory. So they did that whole Common Core thing, right? So
Right.
Common Core was a great idea, honestly. Okay. It was a great idea. You want to teach the kids so they understand it's not just a step-by-step process, right? So you start with a great idea and then you hand it to a bunch of idiots to implement. That's what happened, because only idiots would have implemented as badly as it got implemented. Okay. It is probably one of the biggest failures since new math in my lifetime. And the reason it
now
failed,
old math.
right. The reason it failed is because teachers never understood. Like my math teachers all the way up until college, right? And I had some bad college math instructors as well.
Right.
But all the way up into college, they didn't understand math. They just knew math, right? They didn't understand it.
They knew the steps, they didn't know why.
Well, yes, and they didn't. Yeah, exactly. Like, how did you learn negative numbers?
They just told me.
No, they didn't just tell you.
A number line explaining negative numbers.
Thank you. Number line. A number line. That's the answer. A number line. All of us learned that. That model of numbers is about 300 years old. Okay, I looked it up once. There's a fact that I happen to know.
Yeah, 100 years ago, so now it's 400 years old.
Right. So that model is an abstract model, right? It's abstract in that. Have you ever seen a number line?
Have you ever out?
Right, but have you ever seen one and go outside right now?
No.
You're right. It's abstract, right? The problem with that teaching things that are abstract with abstractions is you have no anchor point. You have no way of knowing, like, okay, I'm going to give you an example. Let's talk about blahs. Okay, we're going to talk about a blah. And you go, wait, what's a blah? And I go, oh, well, it's sort of like a blah, except it's green. And you're like, okay, what's a blah, right? You're looking for an anchor point. And if I said, oh, a blah is just a shoe. You go, okay, now all of this stuff makes sense. Finally, you have something
you got to base it on something. So
you have to take this new idea and find to where you can anchor it to an old idea, something you already understand.
Right. No, I get it.
Right.
But what I want to know is, go ahead.
Well, okay, what?
Well, I want to know if, like, we got people watching right now. I don't know how many of them have children, but does the poorness of our education cause parents to think differently about education? You said you wouldn't send your daughter to college again. You wouldn't do it. You're better off just a teacher yourself, and she can go get a job and start coding.
In that industry, yes. Not all industries are that way. Like, so The problem is, if you're sending your kid to school just for a job, that's a problem. That's a problem, because all they can do is be workers, right? If all you want to do is have your kid be a worker, be a cog in the machine, great. Just send them to school for that reason. That's all mom sent us to school for. She sent us to school. She didn't think about, can you reason? She thought reasoning and all of that came out of the home. Like, you want to think critically, that came at home. She taught us that at home. School was to get a job. And I think it could be so much more, to where you can actually understand, get a real understanding of things. But the big problem with school is that you're teaching in batches, okay, based on age.
Wait, what?
That's
based on what?
Age.
Okay.
Right? All the 7-year-olds learn the same thing at the same time, right? Right? You're 7, you're in whatever grade, you're going to learn all the same. So not everybody is ready to learn that subject when they're 7. Some people are ready when they're 5. Some people won't be ready till they're 9,
Right.
right? We're all different. I struggled with certain subjects and excelled in other subjects. Everyone's that way. So we all struggle and learn at different rates. And our age has almost nothing to do with when we're ready for an idea. So I want to go back to like negative numbers. I have a non-abstract model for negative numbers that I could teach 5-year-olds. You don't even have to know the number line. I could teach, kindergartners this idea,
Right.
right? Because it's such a physical, concrete model for it.
Right.
So and then some kids will get it, and some kids wouldn't get it. So the main point is that the whole way in which it's structured is problematic. Its goals are problematic. I always talk about what's the goal of history. So let me ask you that. What's the goal of teaching history to kids?
Well, so we don't repeat it again.
That's a great one. Yes,
To learn
100%.
from our
What else?
mistakes.
That's a great one. What's another one? There's a second really good one.
Well, to know how things came to be, whether it's
100%. So you got both of my top 2.
yeah.
Right? Those are my top 2. Those are the top 2 reasons I want my kid to know about history. Okay. All right. So if those are our 2 goals for teaching our children history, why do we ever ask on a test what the amount of money the United States paid for the Louisiana Purchase? Which one of those 2 goals, major goals, does that question tie to?
How things came to be is the only thing.
No, I'm asking the amount. I'm not asking that they did the purchase. That's a good one. They did the purchase. That's great. But why are you asking me on a test, how much did the United States pay? Or better yet, what year did that happen in? Like, why? How does that support our 2 goals?
Yeah, that's another thing is they don't. They just question your memorization. That's all.
What they're doing is they're asking questions that they can easily check to see if you get right on a Scantron, right? So when the Scantrons came into being in the 60s, when I was a kid, teachers went crazy because it saved them so much time. They could just run them through the machine and boom, all the tests were graded. They didn't have to read anything you wrote. They didn't have to do any critical thinking. They could just let this machine do the work for them. So they asked, so that took our, everyone calls them multiple guess now, but it used the multiple choice, right? All of a sudden, that kind of a test turned our educational system into exactly the kinds of questions that you can easily test for. And that's what they would teach to. And so now you only learn things like that where they can easily test, where there's a definitive right answer or not.
So do we need to move to a type of education school that every education is customized for every kid? Because you were saying everything.
Yeah, no, that would be ideal, but not scalable. You can't scale that solution, right?
They wouldn't go for that.
No. So in my mind, let's talk about one of your favorite subjects, flipping the classroom, right? You like talking about that. So what's great about flipping the classroom is when you're at home, right? When you're a kid and you're at home, you would watch lectures, videotaped lectures of whatever the subject of the day. So you would watch that thing. Then when you went into school, you would try to do your homework. So it's like what flipping the classroom is all about. So now but now you're stuck. You can't work the problem out. You thought you understood it when you watched the video at home, but now you're in class trying to do the problem and you're struggling. Well, the beauty of that is the teacher's right there. The teacher can help you over that hump.
Parents never know how to do it. They're like, I don't know that.
Parents struggle. I mean, mom tried to help us with her homework and, she helped us think it through, but she didn't know the answers. She didn't know how to solve the problem. So she struggled almost as much as we did because there's a lot of stuff, at least that I was doing, she had never done in school. So flipping the classroom is one way of solving the problem, right?
I think
Because
it's brilliant. I've always been for it since you told me.
I like the idea a lot, but I think, like I told my daughter about it. She's like, "Oh, I would hate that." You hated school. She hated school, right? So
We all
okay,
hated
but
school.
would you right? But when you learn better, if you were trying to work through the problems and you had someone there who
I
could
could
help
go,
you,
hey, teacher, come over here and help me do my homework.
right? And in college, what was interesting in college, we had I worked in the math lab, right? And you had a lab, so you would go do your homework there, and you had tutors and you had a math instructor who ran the whole lab in the math lab at all times.
Was this in Cyprus?
Yeah, yeah, it was great. Now it's almost like flipping the classroom. You get the right, so you go to class, you get the lecture from the teacher, right? Then you would go home and try to do homework. But if you're struggling, you go into the math lab and do your homework in there. And the minute you had a question, you would just raise your hand, and I'd come over and have some paper, and and I'd help you do that problem. And
Right,
then we were there just to help you over the hump, just a little bit, right? You don't want to do it for them, but you want to help them understand how to think through the problem.
right.
And I had a really great math teacher who ran that lab too.
Do
He
you
was
know what
awesome.
the flipping the classroom? Do you know what the best thing about flipping the classroom is?
Wow.
And a lot of people took class the old-fashioned way, and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
went
yeah.
home,
We
did
all did.
homework, and we all did. So when you flip the classroom and you go home to watch the teachings, the best algebra teacher in all of the United States can teach everybody.
Mhm.
So you don't have this year I got a crappy math teacher. Next year my science guy is he's an idiot. But now
Yeah,
you're being taught
yeah,
by the best. All of us are being taught by the
right,
best.
right.
That's the best thing about flipping the classroom because
Well,
all it
that's the
takes is
part I think you like the most. I think you definitely like that the most. I
yeah,
I agree. That's great. I agree 100%. That's great. But I think the better aspect of flipping the classroom is that you have help when you need it. That you don't get doing homework at home. You just don't.
right.
So I want to take the class, and I want this is a good analogy, a good thought problem. Okay, don't think about when you thinking about things intellectually is difficult. Okay, when you think about something intellectually, it's very hard, but physical is very easy. Okay, it's very easy. So I'm going to switch it. Pretend you send your kid to school to lift weights. Okay.
Okay.
So now you go to class and your teacher says, okay, everybody, this is how you lift weights. And they stand in front of the class and they lift the weights over their head. Okay. And they go, see
Right.
that? You want to keep your back, and you tell you all these things, all these techniques, the form, make sure your form is right. And you go, oh, all right. Yeah, that's great. That's great. You write that shit down. Right. And you go, all right, today, for your homework, I want you to go home and I want you to lift 40 pounds on your barbell over your head 10 times. That's your homework. Now, I go home as a kid. I'm tiny. I'm weak little kid. I can't lift the barbell over my head. Okay. And my buddy, you remember Billy, right? My buddy
Yeah.
Billy, right? He was much taller and bigger and stronger. He was a year older than me, and he was just his physical body was bigger than me. And so he would go. So imagine we both go home, right? He goes home, boom, 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 over his head 10 times, got his homework done. Boom, he's outside playing, right? Me, I'm like in my room going, looking at the barbell. I'm like, I can't even lift the barbell. How am I supposed to put 40 pounds on this stupid thing? Right. So I kind of like don't do my homework. And I kind of go out into the living room, and my mom's like, oh, did you finish your homework? I'm like, well, almost, right? So we'll get back there and finish your homework, right? And I go in there and I don't even try. I'm like, why bother trying? I'm only just going to fail. I know I can't even lift the barbell. Put 40 more pounds on the thing, 20 pounds on each side. Forget it. I won't be able to lift this thing. I'm not going to even try. So now we go. So I don't do my homework. I don't tell my mom. And the next day we both go to school. Okay. Now,
Right.
teacher goes, hey, did everybody do your home? Did you do your homework, Billy? And Billy goes, yep. And she goes, great. Come on up here and show me. And she goes, boom, boom, boom. He goes, boom, boom, boom. Great. And then she says to me, hey, come on up and lift the weight. And I come up there to lift the weight, and man, I can't even get it off the ground. I'm like, ugh, right? And she's like, did you pay attention? Were you paying attention? Did you even pay attention, class? Did you even try? Yeah, I did. I did try. I
I've
just
heard
can't
all
lift
these
it.
lines.
Right. So exactly. So then she says, I tell you what, hey, Billy, come back up again. Charles, I want you to stand over there. Okay. Now watch Billy, see what Billy's doing. And he lifts it over his head. And okay, see what Billy's doing? Yeah, I see what he's doing. I just can't do it. Right. Now, in the physical world,
Teachers
we see how ridiculous that whole process is, because I'm weak and little, and Billy is older, taller, and stronger. Okay.
Right,
You're
right.
going to look at me and go, well, why don't you take this little runt and let him just lift the barbell for a while? Let him build up to that point where he can build up muscle. Well, we can't do that because we can't hold everybody back because that, and I can't individually teach everybody. So he's 10, Billy's 11, you know,
Right.
they got their birthdays at the right time in the window of the year. They're all in the 6th grade. They should be lifting 40 pounds over their head, 40 pounds on the barbell. So that's the problem with, like, we all know how ridiculous that is, but that's exactly what we do intellectually.
Right.
It's so obvious when you make it a physical analogy of how the system is so messed up for how you teach people.
Yeah, I've had so many teachers go, just do the problem like this. And you're like, I've already tried. I can't. And
Right.
they give you the same lines. Do it like so and so. Do it here. Show the class how to do this. I'm
Right.
like, I can't go home and do that.
Right. And there was always in grade school, it was always the girls. The girls would go up there and they're like, just plow through it, and you're like, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that's great, but I don't know. Okay, so she can do it. That's wonderful, right? I think that that is one of the largest problems, and that's why people get they feel like they're dumb. Because then they take my friend Billy. Okay, you could switch that whole scenario intellectually. Okay, I'm the stronger intellect, and right.
Right. He's stronger physically, right?
Right, but he was not stupid at all. This guy could tear an engine apart when we were like 16, 15, 16. He could tear an engine apart, remember how to put the whole thing back together, and be able to get that and drive that car around the block. Okay.
Right, right.
But school made him feel stupid in his life. School taught him you're dumb, but he was not dumb. Like, how hard it is to do what he was doing as a teenager?
I know.
That is friggin' hard.
Hold on, let me interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
Carnivore Police asked, when I was struggling with Advanced Algebra 2, my parents got me a tutor and I ended up getting a B in the class. Sounds like Charles, who can't lift the barbell in your example.
Yeah.
Needs
100%.
extra help. Totally.
100%. Yeah.
Totally.
That's
I
exactly
think
it.
tutors are great.
But what that is, but see, I would go one step further. I would say that's helpful. I've tutored people, and that's helpful if you're just slightly behind, right? So I'll give you that little bit of boost. But if you're way behind, like I was way behind physically, right? There's no way I was going to lift. So getting a tutor helping me lift, I can't advance fast enough and catch up. I needed more time to be able to lift the weights. I need to be able to go at my own rate. And then Billy shouldn't be held back because he probably could have lifted 50 pounds more on the barbell, right? So I think tutors are great when you're close, when you're really close to one another. You can just give you that little bit of extra boost. But if you're way behind, like I was physically, or like Billy was with math, he was way behind on math, he needs to be able to learn at his pace. And that's the real problem. If you flip the classroom, by the way, people can learn at their own pace, and it's a scalable solution. Why? Because you could be watching videos where you're at, and I could be watching videos where I'm at. And when I'm doing my homework in class, the teacher can help all of us, even if we're at different levels.
Wait,
right? That's how
do you agree that's the way we should do it?
I think so. The math lab that we had in college was exactly that. There were people from all different math classes. We had nurses in there doing math. We had business student, like there was nurses taking calculus, there was business calculus, and there was the science calculus.
Right.
And so I had
hated
to help
calculus.
all of them. Did you take calculus?
I took pre-calculus. It was so boring.
Okay.
I didn't take calculus.
You didn't take calculus,
That was
right?
the end of my
But
math.
no, but see, you when you flip the classroom, then I could be watching videos ahead of the class or behind in the average of the class, and
Right.
it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. I could progress. But the minute I leave you behind, right? Like Carnivore Police said, like you have to bring a tutor in, right? But
Right.
but if you fall too far behind, no tutor is going to make up the gap, because now you're in the next year, and then you're further. And you know what? The tutor might help you a little bit, but because they keep advancing, you never get a chance to catch up. Tutors can get you a portion of that, but I don't think they can get you enough.
So
you're just going to be slower at it.
I know I've heard Donald Trump say that he's going to rebuild, not just dismantle, but he's going to rebuild the education department. What are some of the things you would change in education department?
I think the whole educational system is the problem, not the Department of Education. They're just a symptom of that. The problem is, how do we teach? The problem, so there's a couple of things, right? How do we teach, right? Why do we teach? Like you have to go down to the absolute basics. You have to ask, how should we be teaching, right? How does the best learning happen?
Right.
We should allow every student. So the government pays for public education, right? Through taxes. I think it's property taxes in California, but through taxes, right? So there's a finite amount of money that's going to be spent. That money should be given in vouchers to a parent so they can pick the right school. Because you want to treat it like you would a business. You reward businesses that provide the best products and services with the most money, right? So you want to do the same for schools. So you want schools to be competing, right, in the marketplace for parents' attention that, look, what we're going to give your kid here. Not every kid should go to one school, right? Some kids are more interested in arts and stuff like that, right? So at a heavy math curriculum in school A, it isn't going to attract the kid who wants to be a dancer or wants to play music or do something like that, more artsy, right? Doesn't mean that they won't get any math. Obviously, everyone needs it. But you could specialize schools a little bit more, right? You have the basic curriculum, but some can be more heavily weighted in one area.
So you're saying elementary and middle school could be more like university style, where it's
totally
just like, oh my God, I never even thought of that.
Right.
That would be totally cool.
Yeah.
You know,
it would be.
Yeah, that's very
So then if you allow people to have school choice and you change the way in which people learn things and you go back to the basics and ask the critical questions, then you can design a system for teaching. What the problem is that the government dictates that these are the requirements at certain ages, and that's where that part fails.
Because everybody's different.
100%. When you come out of school, what should you be able to do? They don't teach you personal finance. I took a personal finance class when I was in one class, and it was a lame class, but at least I had it, right? They don't have auto shop anymore. Like I took auto shop, metal shop, wood shop, drafting, personal finance. I didn't take a cooking class, but they had them.
It was called home ec.
They had home ec, right? So you had those 6 areas which relate to everyone's life. They've ripped out of school. There isn't one person, I don't care what you do, where those 6 areas aren't valuable in some way, shape, or form. I
graduated high school. I never once was taught how to balance a checkbook. Not once. I was taught.
Oh, I took an electronics class where you made a little motor and you wired it up and stuff. You learned about little capacitors and things like that. You learned how to make those things. I forgot about that. We actually used an oscilloscope in that class.
It was so important.
Well, no, but I'm saying these are classes that you can't find anymore. Where are you going to go find that? What high school now? It's
I don't know.
the school system is so geared now to get kids into a college. That's the real problem. And
So
college
you think it's
isn't the
still
way.
political? All of it's political?
No, I don't think it's
It's me
political.
Well, what has messed up our schools? Because we used to be really good at education.
We were never good at education, dude. We were never. We were just better than we are now, 100%. But we
Oh,
were never that good. I hated school. I thought it was so poorly done. I thought most of my teachers were idiots. When I had a great teacher, it was fantastic. So it was hit and miss.
everybody had
Um,
that one teacher they loved.
right, that
They
was amazing.
they take
Yeah,
them year in, year out.
yeah, yeah. There were these great teachers, but they were few and far between.
Right.
Right? I learned more from other students. Like I had this strategy where you sit next to the smartest kid in class. That was my strategy, right? And it still is. Like if you want to learn about a subject, sit next to the smartest kid in class. Okay.
Right.
Then so I'll never forget. His name was Roland Hubner. He sat right in front of me in seventh grade
Huebner,
algebra.
Warren
Yeah,
Huebner.
seventh Roland Roland Hubner. He sat in front of me in seventh grade algebra, and he was way better at algebra than I was. So I'm like
Right.
working on some problem, and I'm like, tap, tap, tap. Hey, Roland, what'd you get for number 12? He'd say, well, I got 17. I look at my paper, I'm like 4. I'm like, shit. I go, how did you? I didn't just go erase it and put 17. I went, how did you get that? And he shows me. Well, he shows me his work. Okay, we do this. And, oh God, I see what I did wrong. Cool. Erase my and do it that way. What that teaches you is how does that person think? How do they think? And if
Right.
you can learn how they think, then you can think like them as
Differently.
well.
Right.
Yeah, but as well as how you think. And then you don't need to sit next to the smartest kid in class anymore because now you know their thought process. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. But you brought up something I want to jump on. You
What?
talked about vouchers. I don't know a lot about what people want, but I know it's been an argument for years
Right?
that parents want vouchers so they can
100%.
uh, what can you give me some information on what the vouchers are for?
Okay, so when you go to a school, right?
Right, right,
Based on where you live, you go to
right,
that school,
right.
okay, in your district. The money from the government is paid on because you went there. That's why attendance. That's why attendance is so important. Okay, because if you don't go there, school doesn't get paid. Okay, that's why they care about you showing up.
Really? I didn't know
Yes,
that.
I mean I think you can miss so many days and they still get paid. But if you miss too many days, they
Is
don't
that
get their
still
money.
going on today?
I don't know. I don't know. But in any case, probably. But I don't know. So you'd have to look that up. So, but here's the thing. Um, uh, I was able to afford. Are you listening, dude, or you're reading shit?
Yeah, I am.
Stop
James,
reading the
no,
fucking
no, no.
chat.
Hold on. James made a very good point. Seems like we
Okay.
need to
What?
increase funding for public education so we can incentivize higher quality teachers.
Okay, so that's a okay. So let me
That was
I want to
good.
come back. I do want to come back to that. Vouchers allow people to choice. I could afford to send my daughter to private school. Not everyone can afford. Mom couldn't send us to private school. There was no way. We were poor. She could barely send us to school. Thank God it was free. So I think everyone should have that opportunity. Every parent, poor or otherwise. Okay. So I'm going to talk about James's comment. Okay. So it seems like that, and I've come to a similar conclusion in the past, right? And
Yeah.
then I started doing the math. Okay. This is a while ago, but think about this. I'm going to open up my own business and I'm going to have 30 students in a classroom and I'm going to charge them $13,000 a year. Okay. And this is years ago. So let's say 20,000, just make the math easy. I get 30 students, right? How much money is that?
600,000.
600,000. One teacher, I have to rent one room, and I bring in $600,000. Okay? So let's say it costs me $100,000 for the room for the year, right? Which is, or $120,000. It costs me $10,000 a month to rent that room, okay? Which is crazy because it's a tiny room, okay?
Right.
So I don't know, maybe I'm renting in downtown New York or Manhattan or something. But let's just say it's $100,000 just for the room, okay? That means I'm going to get paid $500,000 to teach 30 children. Really? Where's the money going? Where is the money going? We have plenty of money. Plenty of money.
I don't know.
Plenty of money.
They charge enough at university level. You should have amazing.
No. Go back, dude. Don't even go there. Just sixth grade. You're in sixth grade. You have 30 kids in that classroom, and it's $20,000 per kid to be in that classroom. Now you have $600,000 to work with. One teacher can bring in that kind of revenue. They'd be living high on the hog. Where's all that money going to? Honestly.
So you're saying that $500,000 it probably comes from the state?
No, you're not. No. Stop. You're not understanding what I'm saying. Pretend I could open a business and run a one-room schoolhouse.
Right.
As my business. If I charged what the government pays the schools per child, right? We'll just say for inflation, it's 20 instead of 13 the last time I looked, right? Then you have $600,000 to work with.
Right.
I can hire an assistant for $100,000. That leaves me and if it costs me $100,000 to rent the space, right? That means I have $400,000 a year that I get to put in my pocket as a teacher. Okay. There's no teacher making that shit, dude. There's no teacher making that. So where's the money going? Where are we wasting money? We throw all this money at the school system, and I don't know where it goes. Because if I could do that, if I could open up a one-room schoolhouse and charge at the rate that the state government is willing to pay here in California, right?
Right.
I'd be raking it in. I'd be making probably 5 times what most teachers make, minimum.
So every problem in the world comes down to money.
Well, yeah, of course it does. But so I thought very much like what some people are saying in the chat about the money side of the situation.
Yeah.
And then what I did is I started doing the math. Think of it as trying to create your own business. All of a sudden, I was like, oh shit, wait a minute. There's something not adding up here, because I would open that business tomorrow on $400,000. That's more money than I make.
So the answer to James's comment is, yeah, we can increase the funding, but the money would still disappear.
The money's going to disappear. Adding more money has not solved the problem all these years. So you would need. But that's why vouchers. By the way, that's why vouchers are great, because then people could open up businesses.
And it puts the power in the parents' hand.
100%. Just like right now, if you had to go food shopping where the closest shopping center, right, to where your house is,
right.
That was the only. Oh, I'm sorry, you like Ralph's? Well, you're gonna have to go to this Albertsons is right here because you live in that neighborhood.
Right.
Wouldn't that piss you off?
Yeah.
How good would the service be? They'd have one lane open and it'd be out the door, and there'd be one super slow cashier checking everybody out. Because
oh my
gosh,
are you gonna go? Good with me shopping?
Yeah, right.
That's
where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? There's no place for you to go. What are you going to do? What? You can't do anything. You're screwed. And that's the problem with school. School is exactly that. So yeah, there's a lot wrong with school. I mean, we could do this for 5 hours, talk about things.
So I got another question. Carnivore Police, forgive me for being ignorant, said they have metrics they have to hit.
Yeah. So I was talking about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That was when we were talking about the problems of the Department of Education at the federal level.
Right.
The problem is that they set certain expectations that the kids have to meet at certain ages, and if they don't, if you don't get X number of kids to pass, that is the number one problem, right? You set these standards. What are the standards, right? Well, every kid should be able to do algebra by the 8th grade or something like that, or 60% of your kids, and or you have to teach about this, or you have to teach about that. That's federally mandated,
Right.
and then they get federal funds into the school, right, which helps them pay some of the, some of those high costs that they're paying.
So trying to get the money they push kids through that should be pushed through.
Well, if you revamp the Department of Education and you revamp the requirements, like what are you looking like? Here's the problem. It's very difficult. What they're trying to do is nearly impossible. Like, what do you want? I want someone who can think, right? I need someone who can think. Great. How do you test somebody can think? And how do you test a 6th grader and compare them to a 12th grader? It's a really hard thing. I don't have the answer to that, but I can tell you what isn't the answer. What isn't the answer is what we're doing.
Right.
Saying that every kid should be able to go lift 100 pounds over their head by the time they're in the 11th grade is ridiculous, because we're all physically different.
Right.
And it's the same thing intellectually. To say every kid can understand algebra or trigonometry by the 11th grade is also ridiculous, because we're all different intellectually, right? We all have different weaknesses and strengths.
I think one of the reasons we discuss education is we know how important it is for future generations. Has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
We'll be
our
dead
kids are grown.
But our children's children are going to suffer because it's degrading. So forgive me for a topic that you guys probably didn't hug and embrace, but it was good conversation. I learned about vouchers. I learned about federal mandates. I didn't even know this stuff. So some of you who are parents should learn your options. Find out what they're doing, find out what the mandates are, push for vouchers. Vouchers sound like a good start to making things different.
Here's the thing. If you have there's two, I think based on everything we've talked about, this is my conclusion. If you got rid of the federal mandates, these metrics, right? If you got rid of those, or at least loosened them a bit, right, to where they're more flexible, okay?
Right.
If you did that and you gave parents choice with vouchers, right? If you did both of those, then it could completely open the space up to competition. So where someone can come in and say, I have a better way. Right now, you have a monopoly. The government says you've got to do these things, and now you're stuck.
Right.
That's all you can do. So no one can innovate. Okay.
Right.
That's the problem. Basically, if you look at our educational system, it's run like a communist society is run. The government dictates, and there is no choice.
All right. Well, listen. Let me just kind of wrap this up, because, like you said, we can go on for hours. If you guys got any more
I agree.
comments.
Carnivore police. I agree. That's a number one issue. Yep.
What do you say?
He said the number one issue you have is a culture that doesn't value general education. That's 100%. When we
Carnivore, you guys are on it.
Nobody values the intellects of the society anymore, right? It's celebrities or some hip hop artist or rapper or whatever. We worship the wrong people, right? Scientists.
Wait,
right?
that's a whole other show. That's a whole other show.
I know. We'll do another show on that. But that's a good point. That's all.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead. Wrap it up.
Thanks for explaining that Caitlin Clark post. I appreciate that. If you guys didn't see that, rewind and watch the beginning of this episode. But in the meantime, I'll pick you up next week with another topic. You guys can write us and tell us what you want to talk about. I'm gonna get Jimmy on here, so I'll let you go. Go enjoy your Sunday, and we'll chat again next week.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.